Well, welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. You're on the Bible Forum. We do this every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. This is our segment that is usually headed as Sunday sermon kind of a thing. I'm not sure it's a sermon. But I wanted to talk to you about the resurrected Christ. Did Jesus raise from the dead physically? Or was he just a spiritual entity? And what does that really mean? And how does that impact anything? An Australian rector, I suppose, it's a Church of England denomination, whoever it is has the ecclesiastical authority over a parish in the Church of England, is resurrecting an old heresy. He's suggesting that the risen Jesus was not flesh and blood. Now the question becomes, when Jesus rose from the dead, was it physical? Or was he just transformed into a spiritual body? He was able to pass through the doors and such. The question has sparked a serious dispute within the Church of England, and it's sort of emblematic of our times. The Archbishop of Canterbury is now being pressured to force this new representative to resign. That's an encouraging sign. That representative is the Reverend John Shepherd of Perth, Australia, who made these remarks back in 2008, but they have recently resurfaced and they're creating something of an uproar. He is seen now on video saying, "We need to challenge the belief that the resurrection of Jesus from the dead was a physical resurrection." And that, quote, "it would be wrong to demand an interpretation of the resurrection, which includes the physical resuscitation of Jesus' body, when the accounts in the New Testament refer to the resurrection of the body transformed by the Spirit of God." Now that's kind of getting down in the weeds. But here is the resurrection, no pun intended, of an ancient heresy. It comes back from time to time. It has popped up in various subcultures within so-called Christianity. This is no different. The idea that Jesus was flesh and bone is attested to in his first appearance to the disciples. He was recognizable to them. Now he had passed through a door, a wooden door, but he was recognizable as the Jesus they knew. And he offered to allow them to touch him, and they did. And he was touchable. All of these are attestations of his physicality, a transformed body, but a body nonetheless. But here's a cleric saying, quote, "We need to challenge the belief that the resurrection of Jesus from the dead was a physical resurrection, that it would be wrong to demand an interpretation of the resurrection which includes the physical resuscitation of Jesus' body, when the accounts in the New Testament refer to the resurrection of the body transformed by the Spirit of God." You get the point? Lee Gaddis is a rector, apparently, who heads the Church of England's largest evangelical group. And he told Britain's Telegraph the situation was, quote, "utterly bizarre and absolutely inappropriate. You're not being told the entire glorious truth about the Bible's content. If it's true that he does not believe in the bodily resurrection of Jesus, then I don't think he should have been ordained as a minister in the Anglican communion in the first place. Because the Bible is absolutely clear, as are the Anglican formularies, that Jesus died and rose again. It is the whole point and center of our good news for the world. This man should stand down immediately or be replaced for the honor and integrity of the Church of England." What about the honor and integrity of the Word of God? Well, the Bible comes into play here, because the Bible is very clear. All those born again of the Spirit of God, what we call being a Christian, are transformed by the Spirit of God. The transformation doesn't mean a physical change. In the case of Jesus, Jesus was dead, but then he was alive. And the fact that he was dead and now he lives is the transformation. The Bible mentions, no, it commands that every true believer be transformed. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Transformed by the renewing of our minds. Not our brains, but the decision-making part of our being. The perception part of our being. The being that says this is real, this is not. It is not the brain. It's a processor, but it's not our mind. And it also says that the ministers of Satan, that's what they're called, are transformed as the ministers of righteousness, 2 Corinthians 11. With Satan himself transformed into an angel of light. And yet, Satan still. The word transformed in the Bible is our word disguised. A person who does not now appear as either he is or was. In the course of all of this rector's attack is not against Jesus, but it's against the gospel. He's making a statement about the gospel that's not true. And he ought to be, what? Taken to task at the very least for this. Which side do you come down on? This is probably a whole discussion you hadn't even thought about before, but I want you to think about it. It's important. Let me know what you come up with. You can write to me at the Bible Forum, thebibleforum@gmail.com. Tell me what you think.